Hey everybody, Daniel Fusco here, and welcome to today's 2-minute message. So I want to talk about something today that we all deal with in different ways, and that's the idea of discouragement. I mean, if you think about the word itself, discouragement, it's the antithesis or the opposite of courage. It's when you begin to feel disinclined or your courage begins to feel sapped. Now, there's all sorts of reasons for feelings of discouragement. Sometimes something just went wrong, something happened that was unexpected, and that makes you feel discouraged. Sometimes you have something in front of you that feels like it's huge, and you're like, man, I'm never going to be able to do that. And so your courage or your excitement and your passion to be able to try and overtake that thing begins to happen. Another reason discouragement happens, of course, is could be some physical factors. Sometimes we're not feeling well. Sometimes we're not sleeping well. Maybe we're not eating well or taking care of our bodies well. And then all of a sudden you're looking at something in front of you that normally wouldn't be that big of a deal to you, but you just feel like, I don't have any passion, I don't have any energy, I don't think I'm going to be able to accomplish that. Now, whatever the reasons for your discouragement are, I think the first thing, if we're going to deal with discouragement, if we're honest, we've all felt these things at different times, and some of us might be feeling it in a major way right now. The first thing you have to do is you have to acknowledge your discouragement. Now, I don't just want you to say, yes, I'm discouraged, but I want you to take it to the next step. I want you to define what it is that you're discouraged about. The reason I say that we need to define what it is because good old G.I. Joe, that great American theologian, said that knowing is half the battle. And so what is it actually that is making you discouraged? Because sometimes it's like, well, I just don't feel like dealing with that. And so really this discouragement isn't the thing. The discouragement is actually the fact that you just don't want to have to put yourself through going through that. So you have to realize, is it actually something outside of me? Is it something inside of me? Is it because I'm just super tired right now? I just need to go take a nap? I mean, if all you need to do is take a 30-minute nap and it cures your discouragement, then that's pretty simple to get taken care of. So we want to be able to define exactly what the discouraging thing is. So once we define it, then the next step is you need to take this thing that's discouraging, and I think you need to bring it to Jesus in prayer. Because Jesus did say, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am meek and lowly of heart, and you will find rest for your souls. That's in Matthew chapter 11. Now, for a lot of people, you're like, well, yeah, I believe in Jesus, but I actually do feel labored and heavy laden. I am coming to Jesus, and I don't actually feel any rest. And so here's the thing. You have to realize that what Jesus is saying there, he's not saying that if you put your faith and trust in him, you're never going to have anything that's hard, that you won't have labor. But what he's saying is that when you take his yoke upon, that he is going to be the person who's bearing the brunt of what that is, but you still have to be a part of it. And so really what Jesus is inviting us into is to see him in the midst of the things that might be discouraging, and to realize that Jesus is willing to do the heavy lifting. He's already done it through his death and resurrection on the cross, and his presence will join us in the midst of whatever the thing is that's discouraging. So first you define it, then you bring it to Jesus in prayer, and then finally, I want you to start to praise God. I want you to start to, knowing that you're defining it, that you're bringing it to Jesus. I want you to say, God, thank you for being with me in the midst of this discouraging thing. Because what I have found is that gratitude and praise completely transforms the details of what the situation we're finding ourselves in. That if I can bring myself in the midst of deep discouragement, which I've experienced, if I can find myself praising God, all of a sudden, it doesn't change the situation, but it changes me in that situation. And guess what? When I start getting changed in the situation, the discouragement begins to dissipate. Because now all of a sudden it's God's energy and it's God's joy that begins to drive me in the situations. And the same thing can happen for you. Now, this is what we do. First, I want you to share this video because all of us have dealt with discouragement. If you're not dealing with it today, tomorrow may be a new day, maybe it's later today. And we want to be able to define it. We want to be able to bring it to Jesus in prayer. We want to be able to rejoice and praise God in the midst of it. And in the comment section, how are you dealing with discouragement? And maybe you want to share this thing in my life is really discouraging. And people, I want you to pray for people. Just like their comment. That means that you're praying for them in the midst of it. And we're going to allow that discouragement to be transformed into growing us deeper and deeper with Jesus. God bless you today.